Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestle News 365. Hope everyone is doing well, staying safe and staying indoors. Hope you are all enjoying your Easter weekend also. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. Now, some people had sort of come up with a bit of a hypothesis coming out of WrestleMania. I myself had speculated that we could see a Bray Wyatt Braun Strowman feud post WrestleMania, and that was pretty much confirmed this past week on Friday Night SmackDown after Braun Strowman defeated Shinsuke Nakamura in the main event. Braun Strowman, of course, the new and current WWE Universal Champion. Bray Wyatt would interrupt him from his Firefly Funhouse and essentially say that he wanted his Universal Championship back. Of course, Bray Wyatt previously was Universal Champion, lost the title to Goldberg in 3 minutes in Super Showdown. To be honest, let's not talk about that. The less said about that whole debacle is better. There's a lot of interesting things when you think about a potential Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman feud, isn't there? I had speculated about it through the articles I wrote for Sportskeeda and for videos here on the channel. I myself personally, when I put it out there, my thought was it was too soon to be doing a Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman feud, in my opinion. I mentioned this previously in my other Braun Strowman video I did a couple of days ago that. For me, the post-WrestleMania feud for a new champion, a champion that is crowned at WrestleMania, particularly the World Championship, so the WWE Championship or the Universal Championship, is crucial to set in the tone for the rest of the year, especially for that champion. But obviously, champions will come and go in WWE. They will be either successes or failures or in between. That's just a fact of professional wrestling. That's a fact of WWE. But I always feel for a new champion that is crowned at WrestleMania, that first feud really does set the tone for the championship reign, for them for the following year, and just for the brand which they're on for the following year. So I think it's really important that they have a solid post-WrestleMania feud. The one thing you don't want to do is maybe, one, blow a big money feud too early, and two, you don't want to book yourself into a corner. And I think that is potentially what could happen here with the Bray Wyatt-Braun Strowman feud. Now, I mentioned in my article that I wrote for Sportskeeda that there is obviously a lot of story to tell here. Of course, you've got the Bray Wyatt, even referenced it on SmackDown. Bray Wyatt, of course, brought Braun Strowman into the WWE or onto the main roster when Braun Strowman was a part of the Wyatt family. He was referenced as the black sheep of the Wyatt family. He would wear the black sheep mask. See what he did there, and be basically the Wyatt family's big, heavy, the unstoppable monster. Not a lot of people got a lot of offense in. I don't think anyone pinned him during that period of time, did they? I don't think so. I think the person that probably got the most offense on Braun Strowman during the whole Wyatt family period of time was Brock Lesnar in that sort of forgotten feud between Bray Wyatt and Brock Lesnar prior to WrestleMania 32. That was the only real offense that anyone got on Braun Strowman, and to be honest, Braun Strowman didn't have a hell of a lot of matches during that period of time. Even he himself has said that before he debuted on the main roster after SummerSlam 2015, he'd had like 4 matches, not even on NXT TV, just in live events. He was so green to professional wrestling at that point. But obviously it is a lot of story to tell there. You can obviously tell the whole teacher versus student element to Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman. You can talk about, like Bray Wyatt reference, how he brought Braun Strowman into this world and he can take him out of it. He can do the whole, I taught you everything that you know, but not everything I know. You can get really weird with the whole Wyatt family, Firefly Funhouse element, the Fiend element. And also, I suppose you've got to compare that. Obviously, the Fiend is this unstoppable heel monster, but Braun Strowman's a monster in his own right. If there's anyone that could go toe-to-toe in terms of power and strength with the Fiend, you would think that it would be Braun Strowman. So that's obviously the story that they're going to tell, since it looks like they're going forward with this. I just don't think it's really worthy of a Money in the Bank pay-per-view. That was obviously the next pay-per-view. So as you can see on the screen now, I think it looks likely that obviously we know the Money in the Bank isn't happening in Baltimore. I believe it was meant to happen, but it most likely will happen at the Performance Center, similar to WrestleMania with the empty arena. I'm just not sure it's really worth having on that pay-per-view. That to me is a SummerSlam main event, a Survivor Series main event. I don't think they could hold out till WrestleMania next year. But it's a feud that's worth waiting a bit longer. I feel like they're rushing into this one, and they could easily just have a Yes, it might not be as important feud as a Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman, but I think Braun Strowman's first Universal Championship feud should be against the like of, I pitched previously, Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn, of course, was the last person to pin Braun Strowman at Elimination Chamber when he won the Intercontinental Championship from him. To me, that would be a better feud, a better starting feud for Braun Strowman as Universal Champion, because you want to book him right. How often and for how many years now has WWE booked Braun Strowman incorrectly, beating him in the big matches, losing against big guys? That whole aura of an unstoppable monster that he did have at one point just isn't there anymore, even though he's Universal Champion. That was one of my biggest criticisms of Braun Strowman becoming the Universal Champion in the first place, is that he's been booked so badly for so a long period of time that him being Universal Champion just isn't really believable at this point. But since he is the champion now, and WWE were kind of forced into a corner by this one, they still do have the opportunity to build him back up. I'm just not necessarily sure a feud with Bray Wyatt as The Fiend is the right way to go for that. And there are several reasons as to why that's not the right way to go. First of all, you're going to have the argument that a lot of people are talking about now, and a lot of people spoke about previously with Bray Wyatt and the Universal Championship, which is, does Bray Wyatt really need to be the Universal Champion? Does he need to be in that World Championship picture at all? And the correct answer to that, of course, is no. Bray Wyatt does not need a World Championship. He doesn't need to be in the World Championship picture, in the same way that The Undertaker for the longest time didn't need to be in the World Championship picture. And the reason why he doesn't need to be in the Universal Championship picture or a World Championship picture is because his alter ego in The Fiend is so over the top, so dominant, so destructive, that once you have the Universal Championship or a World Championship around your waist, in this case, look, eventually they're going to have to lose it. And once you put a championship on The Fiend, your options are incredibly limited as to how you lose it, because eventually he's going to lose it. But to be honest, should The Fiend be losing to anyone? Not really. Not really. And that was the whole problem with having Bray Wyatt versus Goldberg at Super Showdown. Now, obviously, there's lots of schools of thought and lots of different reports as to what happened in that match. Some people have said, it was all about getting to Goldberg versus Roman at WrestleMania and getting the championship on Roman Reigns. Some people have said that, the Bray was meant to defeat Goldberg, and some people have said that now Goldberg sort of pulled a Hulk Hogan, pulled creative control, and basically said, I'm leaving Saudi Arabia as Universal Champion. So there's lots of different things there. But then the main argument with that is, if you hadn't booked yourself into a corner by having Bray Wyatt as the Universal Champion at the time, you wouldn't have had those issues whereby, look, Bray has to lose now and therefore The Fiend has to lose, and you lose that aura of invincibility about The Fiend's character, which he had at that point. Still, the only person to defeat The Fiend is Goldberg in 3 minutes. That will always be a blemish on his record. That's set in stone now. And like I said at the time, it's something that he can't recover from, in the sense of that's always there. Of course, The Fiend can recover and he can seem dominant, but everyone's just going to have, the brand is violated because of that loss on his record. So the concern I have from having Bray Wyatt back in the Universal Championship picture so quickly is, where is your out with this feud? What is the outcome now? Because if they do have a Universal Championship match at Money in the Bank, sure, they can do a DQ or they can do something, but eventually you're going to have a winner and a loser in this feud. And if your idea is to keep the championship on Braun Strowman until Roman Reigns comes back, and Roman Reigns has said he's not coming back till this whole craziness that we're living in at the moment is over, and hey, we don't know how long that's going to take, so we might not see Roman Reigns inside a WWE ring in a very long time. So if you're going to put the championship on Bray, that means Bray's going to have to beat Strowman, and then Strowman's buried straight away just after winning the championship. His championship booking is nearly as bad as Rey Mysterio when he won the World Championship. Or if the idea coming out of the feud is to have Braun Strowman be this big, strong, believable, babyface dominant champion, that means the Fiend's going to have to put Braun Strowman over, and that violates the Fiend's character, because his whole character is built on being this unstoppable brute force of a monster heel, and that doesn't work. So for me, the concern is just what are your plans coming out of this feud, because it just feels very short-sighted, and it feels like they're repeating the same mistake over again. And it's surprising that they're repeating the same mistake so quickly after they made it in the first place. A lot of people said when when the whole Bray Wyatt Seth Rollins feud happened. Now, we knew this was happening way before the match was even announced. Once they started promoting the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view event in 2019, I believe even when like the tickets went on sale, the arena started promoting, we're going to have Bray Wyatt challenging for the Universal Championship at Hell in a Cell. And immediately everyone raised flags going, okay, Bray Wyatt is so soon into this character change. The Fiend is so soon in being introduced to WWE TV. I think he had like one match, which was Finn Balor at SummerSlam at that point. Everyone said, well, he's got to win. He's got to win because if he loses, the character's dead and buried because you can't lose that quickly in a major match. He's not believable. And then you have the debacle that was the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and everyone criticised it because of the way it was booked, but mainly because WWE didn't show any foresight in when they were booking this match. They knew that it was a bad position for Seth Rollins to be in. It was a bad position for The Fiend to be in. And they booked themselves so badly into a corner that their way to get out of it was poor, sloppy, and just lacked any logic. And eventually, obviously, Bray Wyatt would become the Universal Champion. And his title reign was, to be honest, it was pretty meh at best. There wasn't anything really super memorable about it. The feud with Daniel Bryan was good, but that's all he really did in that feud, really. Once he became champion, that was it. He feuded with Daniel Bryan, had a couple of good matches, okay matches. I enjoyed the match at Survivor Series. I preferred their match at the Rumble because they had that hideous light was removed out of the way. But I mean, that was about it really, in terms of major things that Bray Wyatt did as Universal Champion. I would have liked to have seen the feud go on longer, but it would have looked like that Roman Reigns would have defeated Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania had they come face to face at WrestleMania. So, and even then, if Bray Wyatt was the Universal Champion heading into WrestleMania, they'd have made the same mistake which they're making now, whereby they'd have booked themselves into a corner. They'd have had to have Roman Reigns go over because they wanted to get the belt on him. But then you hurt the Fiend's character. He loses yet another big match. Bray Wyatt's victory over John Cena at WrestleMania was not only so refreshing because the whole concept of the Firefly Funhouse match was different, forget that, but Bray Wyatt actually successfully won a big match against a major superstar on a big stage like WrestleMania. It's the first time in his career that he's done that. The whole match was based on that because WWE were actually reflecting on how badly they booked Bray Wyatt over the years prior to him becoming this new version of the Bray Wyatt character. So I'm concerned that, like I said, they're making the same mistake so quickly. They made the same mistake by booking themselves into a corner when you had Bray Wyatt versus Seth Rollins back in October 2019 or whenever it was. And booking Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman now, one, it's way too soon to do this angle. I think it should be saved for a bigger pay-per-view if they want to do it. I think it's a feud if they shouldn't really have it over the Universal Championship because that gives you a lot more leeway of way outs to this feud. And let's be honest, I think the person that should go over in a Braun Strowman Bray Wyatt feud is Bray Wyatt. That's just in terms of the quality of the character and how over the character is. Bray Wyatt is way more over than Braun Strowman. I think even as a heel, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that Bray Wyatt is selling more merch numbers than Braun Strowman, which isn't the only indicator of how over you are with the audience, but it's a strong factor, especially now that we have no fans in the arena to gauge any reactions from. And like I said, putting Bray Wyatt or the Fiend in that championship picture does book yourself into a corner unless you're going to have Bray Wyatt come out on top and once again be the Universal Champion. But that would just prove that Braun Strowman's championship reign is transitional at best. And once again, similarly to how Bray Wyatt was booked in the past, Braun Strowman can't win the big matches against the big guys. Now, people are going to say, well, he beat Goldberg at WrestleMania, but I think anyone that would have faced Goldberg at WrestleMania would have been walked out Universal Champion because Goldberg ain't working any more dates. He's got heat with WWE at the moment. He's not going to be back for a while. So anyone that was going to face Goldberg was going to be the champion. So I don't think that's, a massive sign of faith in Braun Strowman by WWE. I think it's a lack of faith shown in Goldberg. And there was rumors that they were considering Jeff Hardy and other people for that role. So I don't think it's a huge, okay, we're going to go Braun Strowman. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if come Money in Bank and they have that match. First of all, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a schmozz DQ finish, something happens and they extend the feud. Because that to me seems like the only way out of this feud to protect both men at the moment. But if they want to go with a decisive finish, then look, Bray Wyatt's going to have to be the Universal Champion again. And then once again, you book yourself into that corner of, okay, what are they going to do now? How do you get the belt off of Bray Wyatt? You're going to have to beat him at some point. And I know people are going to say, well, look, he's got to start, losing to guys eventually. Otherwise, you have the Goldberg problem on your hands. And Bray Wyatt's got no problem with putting people over. It's just, I think it's going to be a similar situation. If it's the right story, it's the right time, and it's the right opponent. The only thing I could speculate that WWE could be doing at this point is they've gone, look, we don't know when this whole situation is going to be over, when fans are going to be allowed back in the stadium. I saw a report just a few minutes ago of people saying, look, it might be late 2021, which if that is the case, that means you're missing SummerSlam this year, you're not having WrestleMania next year, and you're not having the following SummerSlam. You're having those all without crowds. So again, we're in uncharted territories at the moment. We don't know what the situation is. But obviously WWE's original plan was to have the bout go on Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. That didn't happen. I could see a scenario whereby Bray Wyatt wins the Universal Championship. He's the hottest thing going on SmackDown. He's the best thing going on SmackDown. He's appeared on nearly every SmackDown from the empty arena in Orlando, so it would appear that he's relatively local. He can get to the Performance Center easily. So for me, I would speculate if they do get the bout on him, he might hold it until next year's WrestleMania or whenever Roman Reigns comes back. And then you have that speculated Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt feud that was reported to happen at WrestleMania prior to the whole Goldberg involvement, shenanigans, all of that stuff. So that's just speculation on my part. I don't have any, sources about that. But I could see that happening, and what better way of using this time to be productive than by continuing to build up Bray Wyatt as this unstoppable, undefeatable heel monster. But then on the flip side of the coin, likewise, what better use of this time in WWE to actually build up Braun Strowman as this believable monster babyface? I still think his best work is as a heel. I'd like to see him turn heel again, especially with his recent comments on independent wrestlers trying to make money in this really difficult time. Personally, I still think he should have been punished for that, but WWE decided to put the Universal Championship on him again. Who knows? I think if you got the bout on Bray Wyatt, you could have a really interesting Bray Wyatt versus Jeff Hardy feud, and you can certainly do some really strange and weird stuff with that. I think even if this is his last run, Jeff Hardy, there's a lot of crazy and weird stuff that he can do, and he can be a real asset to the show. I'd personally be much more interested in seeing a Universal Championship feud between Jeff Hardy and Bray Wyatt or The Fiend than I would in a Universal Championship feud between Jeff Hardy and Braun Strowman as Universal Champion. But that's just, of course, my opinion. My opinion isn't everything on this channel. It's all about your opinion as well. What do you think about a potential Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman feud and a match for the Universal Championship at Money in the Bank? Is it too soon? Are WWE rushing into things? And are they painting themselves in a corner by putting Bray Wyatt in a feud for the Universal Championship and potentially making him Universal Champion again on SmackDown? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can do that by clicking the bottom right-hand corner of the screen now. Or if you wait a couple more seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you've come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.